Lennox Lewis is a former professional boxer who competed from 1989 to 2003. He is a three-time world heavyweight champion, a two-time lineal champion, and remains the last heavyweight to hold the undisputed championship.
Once revered as the last undisputed heavyweight champion, Lennox Lewis soared to breathtaking heights in boxing's golden arena.
Undisputed world heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis.
Yet today, at 51, rumors swirl of financial hardship and fading glory. Hailed for his discipline and dominating style, Lewis's quiet demeanor left him overshadowed by louder personalities, leading fans to question his legacy. Now, struggling with life outside the spotlight, he grapples with isolation and the constant specter of that fabled ring. How then did it all go so tragically wrong? Lennox Lewis stands out as one of the most accomplished heavyweights in boxing history. Born in London and raised in Canada, he showed promise early on, winning a gold medal at the 1988 Olympics. This victory made him a national hero in Canada, but he later chose to represent Britain as a professional. His early professional career featured a methodical rise through the heavyweight rankings. Coaches recognized Lewis's unique blend of size, power, and careful strategy. He was often praised for his disciplined training, focusing on strong fundamentals like a stiff jab and precise footwork. Fans soon learned he was a serious contender. One of his biggest early breaks came in 1992 when he defeated Donovan "Razor" Ruddock. That victory propelled Lewis into the spotlight as the WBC's top contender. When Riddick Bowe refused to face him and infamously dumped his belt in the trash, Lewis was crowned WBC champion without a fight. He soon found himself defending the belt against tough challengers. Despite a shocking loss to Oliver McCall in 1994, Lewis bounced back stronger under the guidance of legendary trainer Emanuel Steward.
Emanuel Steward in a league of great trainers. And I say he's the greatest trainer that ever lived.
Overcoming setbacks became part of his story, with notable rematch wins that showed his grit and unstoppable fighting spirit. In March 1999, Lewis faced Evander Holyfield in an attempt to unify the heavyweight division. The first fight ended in a controversial draw, though many believed Lewis had clearly won. Later that year, he secured a unanimous decision in the rematch, becoming the first undisputed heavyweight champion since Muhammad Ali. A defining moment came in 2002 when Lewis clashed with Mike Tyson. Although Tyson was past his peak, the fight drew massive attention. Lewis dominated with his jab before knocking Tyson out in the 8th round. This victory solidified his reputation as the era's most dominant heavyweight force, unstoppable at times. Lewis ended his career in 2003 after a bloody showdown with Vitaly Klitschko. Though he won the fight by doctor stoppage, many believed Klitschko posed a real threat. Still, Lewis chose to retire as champion, an achievement few boxers share. By walking away on his own terms, he preserved his legacy. Today, Lennox Lewis is remembered as the last undisputed heavyweight champion and a three-time world title holder. His calm demeanor, strategic approach, and ability to rebound from setbacks mark him as a rare fighter who truly understood the sweet science. His journey shows that greatness can shine without the loudest roar. Lennox Lewis's journey from a troubled childhood to Olympic glory is one of resilience, discipline, and raw talent. Born on September 2, 1965, in West Ham, London, to Jamaican parents,
Lennox Lewis was born on the 2nd of September 1965 in West Ham, London.
Lewis faced challenges early in life. His father left the family when he was a baby, leaving his mother, Violet, to raise him alone. Struggling to make ends meet, Violet moved to Canada to find work, leaving young Lennox behind in England. For 9 years, he lived with relatives, feeling abandoned and angry. His childhood was far from easy. At age 12, Lennox reunited with his mother in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. It was a new beginning in a different environment. But Lennix was carrying the weight of his fragmented childhood. He found solace and purpose in sports, excelling in basketball, soccer, and football. However, it was boxing that captured his heart. His mother encouraged him to channel his aggression and energy into the sport, and by 12, he had already started training seriously. Lewis quickly showed promise in the ring. With his towering size, power, and natural ability, he dominated Canada's amateur boxing scene. At just 15 years old, he won his first junior national championship, a victory that confirmed boxing was not just a hobby, it was his destiny. The 1984 Los Angeles Olympics marked his first major international test. Representing Canada in the super heavyweight division, 18-year-old Lewis impressed but fell short, losing in the quarterfinals to Tyrell Biggs, who went on to win gold. While the loss stung, it fueled Lewis's determination. Unlike many fighters who turned professional after the Olympics, Lewis made the bold decision to stay in the amateur ranks for another 4 years to refine his skills. He trained harder, became more calculated in his approach, and set his sights on redemption. The 1988 Seoul Olympics were his moment of triumph. Competing again in the super heavyweight division, Lewis dominated the tournament, showcasing his power and technical prowess. In the finals, he faced Riddick Bowe, a towering American with devastating power. Lewis proved the better fighter, stopping Bowe in the second round to claim the gold medal.
To Seoul in '88, you do win a gold medal and you knock out Riddick Bowe.
He had done it. Lennox Lewis was now an Olympic champion. This victory marked the beginning of his rise to greatness. With the amateur world conquered, Lennox turned professional in 1989, ready to take on the heavyweight division and cement his place in boxing history. Lennox Lewis's career is filled with moments that defined his greatness and cemented his legacy as one of the greatest heavyweight boxing champions in history. From sensational victories to overcoming setbacks, these moments illustrate his journey from a promising talent to the last undisputed king of the heavyweight division. One of the earliest defining moments came in 1992 when Lewis faced Donovan "Razor" Ruddock, a feared puncher and one of the top heavyweights at the time. Many doubted Lewis's ability to handle such a dangerous opponent, but he silenced critics with a dominant second-round knockout. This victory earned him the WBC's #1 contender spot and proved he was ready to compete at the highest level. In 1993, Lewis was crowned WBC heavyweight champion without throwing a punch when Riddick Bowe, his Olympic rival, famously threw the belt into a trash can rather than face him.
Because he didn't want to fight. I was ready to go, good in great shape. I think what scared him was he saw the first fight.
While this unconventional title win lacked the satisfaction of earning it in the ring, it positioned Lewis as a legitimate world champion and set the stage for his reign in the heavyweight division. However, his reign wasn't without challenges. In 1994, Lewis suffered a shocking upset loss to Oliver McCall, who knocked him out in just the second round. For critics, it was proof that Lewis was overrated, but this moment became a turning point. Lewis regrouped, hired legendary trainer Emanuel Steward, and rebuilt himself into a more complete fighter. The rematch with McCall in 1997 was bizarre, with McCall refusing to fight and breaking down in tears, but it marked Lewis's return as champion and showcased his resilience. Another career-defining moment came in 1999 when Lewis faced Evander Holyfield in a unification bout to crown the undisputed heavyweight champion. Despite dominating the fight, the judges ruled it a controversial draw, sparking global outrage. In the rematch later that year, Lewis left no doubt, decisively outboxing Holyfield to become the first undisputed heavyweight champion since Muhammad Ali. Perhaps the most famous moment of Lewis's career came in 2002 when he faced Mike Tyson in a long-awaited showdown. Tyson, though past his prime, was still dangerous, but Lewis dismantled him with ease, finishing him with a brutal knockout in the 8th round. It was a statement victory that solidified Lewis as the greatest heavyweight of his era. Lennox Lewis's career may be remembered for his dominance in the ring, but it was the challenges and setbacks he faced that truly defined his journey. These moments tested his resilience and proved his determination to rise above adversity. One of the most shocking challenges came in 1994 when Lewis suffered a devastating defeat against Oliver McCall. At the time, Lewis was the WBC heavyweight champion, establishing himself as one of the top fighters in the division. But in the second round of their fight, McCall landed a powerful right hand that sent Lewis to the canvas.
I thought I'm throwing at Lennox Lewis, and sure enough, I did not throw no more punches. They kept looking at me, but now I was so focused and zoned.
The referee stopped the fight, handing Lewis his first professional loss. Critics were quick to label him as overrated, questioning his ability to handle pressure and physical adversity. For Lewis, however, the loss was a wake-up call. Rather than making excuses, he made changes. Lewis hired the legendary trainer Emanuel Steward, who would help him refine his style, sharpen his skills, and rebuild his confidence. 3 years later, in 1997, he avenged his loss to McCall in a bizarre rematch, reclaiming his WBC title. Another major setback came in 2001, when Lewis faced Hasim Rahman in South Africa. In one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, Rahman knocked Lewis out in the 5th round with a thunderous right hand. Fighting at high altitude and underestimating his opponent, Lewis had entered the ring unprepared. The loss was a blow to his reputation, reigniting doubts about his consistency. But once again, Lewis proved his ability to bounce back. In their rematch later that year, he delivered one of the most iconic knockouts of his career, flooring Rahman with a devastating right hand in the 4th round and reclaiming his heavyweight title. Beyond the physical losses, Lewis also faced constant criticism throughout his career. Many fans and analysts dismissed his technical fighting style as boring, especially when compared to the explosive styles of fighters like Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield. His reserved demeanor outside the ring didn't help him win over casual fans, leaving him feeling underappreciated despite his remarkable achievements. Through these challenges, Lennox Lewis showed that true champions are defined not just by their victories, but by how they respond to defeat. His ability to learn, adapt, and return stronger solidified his legacy as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. For Lennox Lewis, life after boxing has been a mix of triumph and challenge. As one of the few champions to retire at the top, Lewis left the sport with his health, wealth, and legacy intact. Yet, while he avoided the pitfalls that ruin so many boxers post-retirement, his story is not without struggles. Lewis retired in 2003 as the reigning heavyweight champion, a rare achievement in boxing's history. Unlike many fighters who hung on too long or returned for ill-advised comebacks, Lewis stayed true to his decision, walking away with nothing left to prove. He turned down countless offers for rematches and exhibition bouts, prioritizing his health and family over fleeting glory. This discipline set him apart from many of his peers. In retirement, Lewis embraced a quieter life, focusing on his family and business ventures. He married Violet Chang, a former Miss Jamaica runner-up, and together they raised 4 children. Unlike his chaotic years in boxing, his family life became a source of stability and pride. Lewis also dabbled in commentary for major fights, where his insights were respected by fans and fighters alike. Occasionally, he mentored young boxers, offering advice not just on boxing techniques, but on navigating the financial and emotional challenges of the sport. Financially, Lewis appeared to thrive, with a reported net worth of over $150 million. He invested in real estate and other ventures, owning luxurious properties in Miami and Jamaica. His Miami mansion, with its waterfront views and private docks, symbolized the life of success he built. Meanwhile, his Jamaican estate, known as the Lion's Lair, offered him peace and a connection to his heritage. However, retirement hasn't been without its struggles. Lewis has faced the physical toll of his career, including joint pain and reduced mobility. While he avoided the severe cognitive issues that have plagued many fighters, the years of training and fighting have left their mark. Emotionally, he has also struggled with feelings of being overlooked. Despite being one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, a three-time world champion and the last undisputed heavyweight king,
he became a top 5 world heavyweight.
His legacy is often overshadowed by flashier fighters like Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield. Today, Lennox Lewis lives a quieter life, far removed from the spotlight. Though his achievements are unmatched, his story highlights the emotional and physical costs of greatness. Lennox Lewis is more than a champion. He is a man who mastered the ring and, outside of it, continues to navigate the complexities of life after boxing. Lennox Lewis is one of the greatest heavyweight champions in boxing history, yet his journey after retirement has been marked by struggles with recognition and the challenges of aging. Despite his countless achievements, becoming the last undisputed heavyweight champion, winning Olympic gold, and dominating nearly every top fighter of his era, Lewis's legacy has often been overshadowed by flashier, more controversial fighters like Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Throughout his career, Lewis quietly went about his business, letting his fists do the talking. His style was calculated and technical, relying on strategy rather than brute force. To boxing purists, this was brilliance in motion, but casual fans often found him boring. Unlike Tyson's explosive knockouts or Holyfield's gritty wars, Lewis's fights lacked the kind of drama and spectacle that captivated audiences. This perception followed him into retirement, where he has often felt overlooked in discussions about the greatest heavyweights of all time. For a man who conquered the sport, this lack of recognition has weighed heavily on him. Adding to his struggles is the passage of time and the physical toll of a grueling career. Now 59 years old, Lewis grapples with the wear and tear of decades in the ring. Reports suggest he suffers from joint pain and reduced mobility, common ailments for retired fighters. While he has avoided the severe brain damage that has afflicted some of his peers, the long-term risks of his career remain a concern. For a man who once ruled the heavyweight division with his physical prowess, these limitations serve as a humbling reminder of aging's inevitability. Emotionally, life after boxing has been a challenge. Lewis has largely stepped away from the spotlight, choosing a quieter life with his family. However, this self-imposed isolation has reportedly left him battling a sense of being forgotten, as younger generations of fans and fighters gravitate toward louder, more charismatic personalities. Despite occasional appearances at boxing events and commentary gigs, Lewis's reserved nature has kept him on the sidelines, further fueling the perception that his legacy is fading. Lennox Lewis's story is a reminder that even the greatest champions face struggles after the spotlight fades. His achievements deserve recognition, but the emotional and physical toll of his legendary career reveals the human side of greatness. For Lewis, the fight for respect and acknowledgement continues, even outside the ring. A 2,200-year-old scroll, called the Isaiah Scroll, has just been found in the arid deserts of Israel, and its contents are nothing short of shocking. This Isaiah Scroll, which is part of the legendary Dead Sea Scrolls, has been hidden for centuries.
Inside the storage jars were ancient texts, which very quickly they came to realize.
But now it's offering new truths about Jesus and the world he lived in. In this video, we'll explore the incredible story behind this scroll and why it is so important today. What secrets does this ancient relic hold? And how can these secrets change our understanding of Jesus' mission on earth? Let's get into it. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Before we go in depth into the Isaiah Scroll and its importance today, we need to first talk about the group of scrolls it was a part of, the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls were first discovered in the arid and rocky region near the Dead Sea in what is now Israel. In 1946 or early 1947, Bedouin shepherds were tending their flocks in the Judean desert when one of them stumbled upon an ancient treasure that would soon become one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. The shepherd, a young boy, was searching for a stray goat when he threw a rock into a small cave near Qumran, a site overlooking the Dead Sea. To his surprise, the rock made a peculiar sound, not like hitting rock or sand, but as though it had struck something hollow. Intrigued, he and his friends climbed into the cave and found a collection of clay jars. What they found was beyond astonishing. Inside some of these jars were scrolls wrapped in linen, astonishingly preserved despite their incredible age. The first scrolls they uncovered included what came to be known as the Great Isaiah Scroll, which was later identified as one of the most complete and important of the Dead Sea Scrolls. These ancient manuscripts contained Hebrew texts that predated Jesus Christ by centuries, offering insights into a time long before Christianity and shedding light on early Judaism. The discovery would soon spark global interest, leading to a race to locate and study more such treasures in the surrounding caves. Between 1947 and 1956, archaeologists and treasure hunters unearthed scrolls and fragments from a total of 11 caves in the Qumran region. The scrolls date back to a period spanning the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE, a time known as the Second Temple period in Jewish history. This was an important era when Judaism was evolving and diverse religious ideas flourished. It was also a period of great political issues, as the Jewish people lived under various foreign rulers, including the Greeks and Romans. The Dead Sea Scrolls are a remarkable collection of nearly 981 manuscripts. They include fragments of almost every book in the Hebrew Bible, also known as the Old Testament, except for the Book of Esther. Among these, the Great Isaiah Scroll stands out because it is almost completely intact. This scroll contains the Book of Isaiah, including chapter 53, which some Christians believe predicts the life and mission of Jesus Christ. For scholars and believers alike, this connection between ancient Jewish texts and early Christianity has made the Isaiah scroll particularly significant. That's not all. The scrolls also contain apocryphal works, writings that are not included in the canonical Bible but were still important in ancient Jewish thought. For example, texts like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees were found among the scrolls. There were also sectarian writings, which appear to have been produced by a Jewish sect living near Qumran, often identified as the Essenes. These texts provide fascinating details about the rules, beliefs, and daily life of this community. One of the most curious discoveries was the Copper Scroll, found in Cave 3 in 1952. Unlike the other scrolls, which were made of parchment or papyrus, the Copper Scroll was inscribed on thin sheets of metal. It contains a detailed list of hidden treasures, including vast amounts of gold and silver, supposedly buried in various locations. Scholars are still debating whether this scroll is a genuine record of hidden wealth or a symbolic text. Now, why exactly are these scrolls important? First, these scrolls provide the oldest surviving manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible. Before the discovery of the scrolls, the earliest complete Hebrew Bible dated to the 10th century CE. By contrast, the Dead Sea Scrolls take us back more than 1,000 years earlier. This allows scholars to study how biblical texts were transmitted and preserved over centuries. Remarkably, the texts of the Isaiah scroll show a high degree of consistency with later versions of the Bible, demonstrating the care with which Jewish scribes copied these sacred writings. The scrolls also reveal the diversity of Jewish thought during this period. For example, some texts describe a dualistic worldview, with a stark division between the forces of light and darkness. Others reflect apocalyptic expectations, with visions of a final battle between good and evil. These ideas influenced not only Judaism, but also early Christianity, which emerged in the same region and time frame. Now, because of how important these scrolls are, as with every other religious-based artifact in history, they have had their fair share of controversies and disputes, particularly over their ownership. Keep watching to find out how these controversies and ownership disputes came about. How the scrolls became the subject of ownership disputes. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, their value became immediately apparent. These ancient texts, some over 2,000 years old, were not only important for religion and history, but also became a source of controversy. As their discovery gained attention, disputes arose over who rightfully owned them. In 1948, the State of Israel was established, and the region immediately had a lot of political issues. Jordan, which controlled the West Bank and East Jerusalem at the time, claimed ownership of the scrolls since they were discovered in territory under its control. Jordan displayed some of the scrolls in the Rockefeller Museum in East Jerusalem, asserting its authority over these treasures. But after the Six-Day War in 1967, Israel captured East Jerusalem and gained control of the Rockefeller Museum. As a result, Israel claimed the scrolls as part of its cultural and historical heritage, arguing that the scrolls were tied to ancient Jewish history and belonged in the Jewish state. Jordan, on the other hand, maintained that the scrolls had been discovered on land it controlled and therefore were rightfully theirs. In addition to the disputes between Jordan and Israel, the Palestinian Authority also entered the debate. Palestinians argued that the scrolls were found in territory that they considered part of their ancestral homeland. They asserted that the scrolls should be regarded as part of Palestinian heritage and called for their return. Things don't end there. Another controversy came from the role of antiquities dealers and private collectors in the early days of the scrolls' discovery. After the shepherds sold the scrolls to dealers, some pieces ended up in the hands of private collectors. For instance, in 1954, an ad appeared in the Wall Street Journal offering scroll fragments for sale. A group of Israeli scholars secretly negotiated to buy these fragments, ensuring they would be preserved as part of Israel's heritage. These transactions raised ethical questions about the trade of cultural artifacts and whether such treasures should belong to individuals or nations. Aside from political disputes, scholars and religious groups also became involved in debates about the scrolls' origins and authorship. Many scholars believe the scrolls were written by the Essenes, a Jewish sect that lived near the Qumran caves. Others suggest the scrolls came from Jerusalem's libraries, hidden during the Roman siege of 70 CE. Today, most of the Dead Sea Scrolls are housed in the Shrine of the Book at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. Israel has made huge efforts to preserve and digitize the scrolls, making them accessible to scholars and the public. But Jordan and the Palestinian Authority continue to assert their claims, keeping the ownership issue alive. International laws regarding cultural property and UNESCO conventions add further complexity to the matter. As we mentioned earlier, among all the Dead Sea Scrolls discovered, one stands out as particularly important: the Isaiah Scroll. But what makes this scroll so important, and why has it captured so much attention over the years? Let's find out. The journey and importance of the Isaiah Scroll. Referring to what we mentioned at the beginning of this video, the journey of the Isaiah Scroll from the Qumran caves to global recognition is a story filled with drama and intrigue. It began with a chance discovery by Bedouin shepherds in the Judean desert. Searching for a lost goat, they stumbled upon a cave containing jars filled with ancient scrolls. Among them was the Isaiah Scroll. At first, the shepherds had no idea of its value. They sold it to an antiquities dealer, and from there, the scroll began a journey that would change the study of biblical history forever. One of the first scholars to examine the Isaiah Scroll was Eliezer Sukenik, a professor at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He immediately recognized how important it was, describing it as the greatest manuscript discovery of modern times. At the same time, parts of the scroll ended up in the hands of Mar Athanasius Yeshua Samuel, a leader of the Syrian Orthodox Church in Jerusalem. Mar Samuel took the scroll to the United States, hoping to sell it. In 1954, the State of Israel purchased it for $250,000, bringing it back to Jerusalem. This purchase was more than just an academic achievement. It was a cultural and national milestone for the newly established country. Unlike many other scrolls found in the Qumran caves, which are fragmented and incomplete, the Isaiah Scroll is remarkably intact. It contains all 66 chapters of the Book of Isaiah, a foundational text for both Judaism and Christianity, preserved in its entirety on a delicate parchment roll. Its discovery gave the world a rare glimpse into the past, offering profound insights into religion, history, and the ways sacred texts were transmitted over centuries. Wait, there's more. What makes the Isaiah Scroll so important is its incredible preservation and its relationship to later versions of the Hebrew Bible. When scholars compared it to the Masoretic text, the authoritative Hebrew Bible written about 1,000 years later, they were astonished to find that the two were almost identical. Despite how significant the findings of the Dead Sea Scrolls was, a lot of theories have sprung up debunking its credibility.